For example, maybe we haven't copied these formulas yet in column I, but this first result here, this formula, quick look at it, is taking a previous salary and incrementing it by 4.43%. If you say, well, we don't really need the pennies, you could, in the number group on the home tab here, simply show fewer decimals. Now notice I said show fewer decimals, and look what happens. Now, the value has not been changed into 37,265. The 80 cents that we saw previously is still there. This did not really go up 20 cents. We've simply changed the look of it. In the overall scheme of things on a yearly salary, you might say, well, who cares 20 cents? And that's probably true. But let's show what might happen in a different situation here in column C. Here's a similar kind of function, same kind of math and everything, but it relates to a pricing item. The previous price of this item was $8.62. We're increasing it by 4.37% on these other items too. And we come up with an answer of $9. Looks great. That's fine. And that's the way we're seeing it. Imagine for the moment this is a box of pens or rubber bands or whatever, and somebody orders 10,000 of them. So just a simple little formula here to take this amount times 10,000. You can do the math in your head. It's going to be 90,000, right? Well, not quite, but it's, what, $33.06 off. Who cares? Well, somebody does care, and the money has to be accounted for somehow. And so when you do run into situations like this, what you will need is the round function. Now, there are lots of variations, and the point of this is not to show you all the variations, but just to give you some insight into it and point out a couple of things and some shortcuts coming up here. What we should do in this example here is truly round this to either the nearest penny or the nearest dollar, depending on the circumstances. I don't really have to make the column wider, but I want to do this so that we keep this in view. I'm going to alter the formula by putting the function round here at the beginning, and you can round a calculation to the nearest decimal point or even to the left of the decimal. If we want to round this to the nearest penny, we put in comma 2, meaning 2 decimal places. Now as I press enter here, the $9 that we saw earlier, we're still going to see, but now it truly will be $9. Watch the calculation on the right change. So that really did change. So let me step back a little bit with Control Z and show what this number really had been. All along, even though it looked like $9, I'm going to show more decimals. That original calculation really came up with this. And so you could have made the mistake possibly of applying a formatting or simply having it formatted ahead of time and saying, gee, I guess it's $9. So you got to be careful with this. Don't use these buttons to change values because they don't. They simply change the display. And as I click these buttons left and right, you'll notice that the calculation in column D is not changing at all. It's still the same. So reverting here and going in the other direction, what we want to be able to do here is simply, again, quickly, round this to the nearest 2 decimals, and that's going to take care of the situation. Now, getting back over here into the salaries, sometimes with a yearly salary, you can imagine easily saying, well, it would make sense here to have the yearly salaries be, whole number to the current dollar. And sure enough, the best choice I think for a lot of people would be here, just put a 0 in, meaning to the nearest whole number, 0 decimal places. And we see the result here. Now that truly is 37,265. We've altered it. Sometimes you might want to round to values that are not multiples of 10. I've seen salaries that when divided by 26 or 24, in other words, either a bi-weekly or a bi-monthly kind of system, or even a monthly system, the salaries are stated as whole numbers. Well, we could actually make them whole numbers. And a not so obvious choice here would be to use a function called mround. And we can round this to the nearest multiple of, for example, 12. If we do this, whatever salary we come up with will be to the nearest $12. And that means that if divided by 12, the monthly salary will be totally even. If this is a bi-weekly, get paid every 2 weeks system, we might want to round this to the nearest 26 or $26 here. And that's evenly divisible by 26, so some unusual things to do there, but the key points here are that There will be times when you truly want to round results and not simply change their formats by using buttons on the Home tab.